Hey, this is Tom here. Let's see if this works. I've never tried to record part of another YouTube video while making a video using this app. I don't know how this is going to work. Let's see. This is the whole thing about McAfee with the $500,000 prediction for Bitcoin price, that it's eventually going to hit $500,000, which I think is ludicrous, but hey, I can be wrong. I think he's pushing an agenda. I think it's going to be worth a lot. It's going to keep going up, but I don't know, 500,000 per coin. That seems a bit excessive. But anyway, there's a little thing here, and he explains his reasoning.
Many people see growth like this and want to compare it to a fiat currency, wondering when the bubble might burst. Cybersecurity expert John McAfee says this type of thinking is a mistake. He joins me now. John, why do you think the word bubble cannot be applied to Bitcoin?
Well, first and foremost, Bitcoin is not a fiat currency. It costs over $1,000 to create a Bitcoin today in electricity and computing costs. Second, the value of Bitcoin is linked to the...
Okay, he's definitely correct there. Okay. This is a point worth noting, is that, fiat currency is just created by governments out of thin air. They just decide to turn the printing presses more and print more money, which lowers the value through inflation. You're inflating the money supply, therefore lessening the value of each individual unit. That's like the definition of inflation, or one of the definitions of inflation. So he's right. To create a Bitcoin, it's not completely free. I mean, you're technically creating it out of thin air, but it takes computing power and electricity to do that. A lot of computing power and a lot of electricity. So it's definitely not free, and not anybody can do it. And you just can't, it's not like just turning a printing press. Now, granted, there are costs involved with printing money, but he's definitely correct here in that, Bitcoin's not free to create, and it does take a lot of resources to create it.
Number of users and the number of transactions. It is not a speculative investment, even though it is being used as such by many people. As the Bitcoin network grows, the value of Bitcoin grows. As people move into Bitcoin for payments and receipts, they stop using US dollars, euros, Chinese yuan, which in the long term devalues these currencies. So what you're seeing is more of a currency devaluation than a bubble in Bitcoin. As more people use it, it has more intrinsic value. And again, the cost of producing a Bitcoin increases with the value of the Bitcoin.
Okay. Yes. It's kind of like a reverse thinking, right? It's if the fiat currency's value is going down, if dollars, yuans, whatever are going down through inflation or whatever, then of course Bitcoin goes up, just like gold does, right? Gold becomes more valuable as inflationary fears increase with the fiat currencies. So, okay, that line of thinking is pretty sound. And he is also correct that over time, Bitcoin's, the hash power that it takes to create a new Bitcoin goes up. So just like, it was a lot easier to create a Bitcoin back in a few years ago versus now. The hardware costs and, hardware requirements and electricity requirements go up. It gets harder to produce as you start reaching the other upper limits, and there is a limit as to how many can be created ultimately.
So this is not something that we're pulling out of thin air. Mm-hmm. This is something that's created with massive amounts of electricity and computing power.
Well, someone who disagrees with you on the term of bubble when it comes to Bitcoin is Mark Cuban. Back in June, he tweeted, "I think it's a bubble. I just don't know when or how much it corrects." When everyone is bragging about how easy they're making money, that equals a bubble. Now, when he tweeted that, Bitcoin dipped in price. How can one person's random Twitter thread have that effect on the price? And what does it say about Bitcoin stability?
Well, it says nothing about Bitcoin stability. After it dropped $500, it's now at 44. So these temporary fluctuations are meaningless, created by speculators, people who do not understand the fundamental technology of the blockchain. Those who do know that in the long term, these fluctuations will make no difference. The more people who use Bitcoin, the more valuable it will become. This is the only metric we can use.
Now, Bitcoin and blockchain go hand in hand, but blockchain's ability to track financial transactions in a way that is incorruptible, it gives it infinite amount of uses outside of the original purpose of using it for Bitcoin. Do you see blockchains overtaking certain aspects of the financial system as we know it now?
It will take over all aspects. People think that Bitcoin or the blockchain is owned by someone, by a company, or by a consortium. No, this is strictly a mathematical formula that nobody owns, that we are all participating in. And we use the blockchain for everything from fixing supply chain problems in corporations to verifying the authenticity of the sender and receiver in a financial transaction. It is the most powerful technology that the world has seen, I believe, since the invention of agriculture.
Now, John, we've showed our viewers Bitcoin's...
Okay, a little bit, over the top, excessive thinking there, but the blockchain's pretty powerful. I'm not sure for this interview he mentions Ethereum is another cryptocurrency right now, the second most well known after Bitcoin, and its blockchain has that smart contract technology built in, which is going to define and enforce contracts, and may also affect the legal industry because now lawyers won't be needed necessarily to enforce contracts. It will be enforced through the code in the blockchain. So that's also very important to note. So yeah, McAfee understands this stuff. Obviously, I do. I don't know where the $500,000. Maybe he's right. I don't know if he's right. And you hold a lot of Bitcoin, then baby, hold on to it. If he's right, then that means there's still tremendous upside in Bitcoin, even at the current over $4,000 price. You can only hope that he would be right if you are a holder of Bitcoin, but I just think $500,000, I just don't know where, how he's getting that number. He's pulling this 500,000, and part of me thinks it's just because he's one of these eccentric, over-the-top personalities, kind of like Mark Cuban in a way, which they mentioned in the thing. And, these guys open their mouths and boom, they come out with something crazy, and you can't help but pay attention. The guy's obviously somebody who draws a lot of attention and commands a lot of respect in technology circles in a lot of ways. And, some people don't like him and think he's just a BSer, but, hey, everybody's going to have an opinion. So, but 500,000, I just still can't wrap my head around where that number is coming from. I haven't seen an interview yet that really explains the 500,000 number. I've seen numbers all the way from, on the low end, 50,000, which still seems like a lot. In a few years I don't know where this 500,000, like in what time frame is he even talking? I'm not sure if he mentions that anywhere.
Rise just in the past month, and we can show it to them again if it's up there. But on July 17th, 1 month ago, you tweeted that Bitcoin's low of 1,800 yesterday simply could not be maintained. In the long term, Bitcoin moves above 500,000 within 3 years. Bet, you ask? So I ask you, John, do you stand by your statement?
Years?
Well, keep in mind, as Bitcoin grows and grows in value, other currencies, national currencies, are going to decline.
All right, so he's basically saying, it's going to basically cause some kind of inflation effect or something that's going to cause the national currencies to decline in value so much that it's going to reach 500,000 in 3 years. I don't see 500,000 in 3 years. I just don't. There needs to be more math behind that to explain that. So anyway, what's your opinion?